IVM.
Hi, everybody. On behalf of the team at IVM Podcast, I have a request for you. We'd really appreciate it if you could go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and fill out our survey over there. It's going to take a few minutes to do, but it gives us some really interesting information that we can take to advertisers and brands about who's listening to the network. If you're comfortable giving us your email address while you're filling out the survey, we'll enter you into a random drawing where we'll be sending out a bunch of IVM swag to some of our listeners. Last year we sent out coffee mugs, and this year we're hoping to send out much cooler stuff. That's ivmpodcast.com/survey. We really appreciate your help.
Welcome to Absolutely Right, the first graphology-based podcast show in India. I'm your host, Aditi Surana. I'm a graphologist and a high-performance coach. To make the most of this episode, keep a notepad handy. Either look at your own natural handwriting style or quickly scribble a few lines for you to learn some fascinating facts about your own personality. Yes, by merely looking at the formation of your handwriting strokes. I know that some people are skeptical about this whole idea that handwriting can even talk about personality. And I hear you. To make my case, I can bring in research data or tell you that people like Albert Einstein and Carl Jung have explored this subject, or even present thousands of cases that I have personally experienced in my career. And now that I'm done plugging in some credibility for graphology, let's agree the actual proof of the pudding is in eating it. So before you dismiss this well-researched study, I invite you to give it a shot. While analyzing today's guest, I will be dropping some graphological clues, asking you to look at your letter E or slant of your writing and many other things like that. If you find the exact stroke in your handwriting, then you will be surprised to see how accurate it is. Let me introduce you to our today's guest. As part of my work, I design graphologically correct brand identities for organizations. In 2008, I met Mukta Sable, a passionate young girl who was the director of a family business, Sable Sanjivani, where I was designing their logo. Over these years, Mukta and I have stayed in touch due to her keen interest in wellness. That time, she started the first mobile spa in the country way before companies like Urban Clap showed up. Over these years, Mukta's love for wellness has only become stronger and stronger. She is currently involved in Wabi Sabi, an artisanal single-listed origin coffee and matcha tea chain, Abhyangasnan, an Ayurvedic premium bathing product range, and a gated wellness community in Pune. Mukta will join us on the other side of this short break. As you listen to the episode, remember to check out our new 2 segments on the show. Autograph Please, where I describe how exactly the guest is misunderstood by people around them by analyzing their signature, and Graphology Tool of the Week, where today I will be speaking about a particular formation in the letter M that shows whether you struggle to say no to people or not. Stay tuned.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I wanted to kind of just give a quick reminder to everybody. As I mentioned up top, we are doing our annual listener survey right now. If you could please go and take a couple of minutes out of your day and fill it out, we would really, really appreciate it. It's ivmpodcast.com/survey. If you're comfortable giving us your email address, we'll enter you into a random drawing, and we're going to be sending out swag to a bunch of randomly selected listeners. So do definitely get on board that train. Let me tell you a little bit about what we did on the network this week. We launched a new show called Zindagi Diaries with Ragini Kumar. Many of you might have seen Ragini on television during the IPL. She's a presenter, but she's showing a different side of herself over here with a poetry podcast. Give it a shot, give it a listen. Let me know what you all think. Vishal Gondal is back this week after a while. He's been on an extended break, but he has Rahul Narvekar for the first episode. Really interesting conversation. Do check it out. Raji Samant joins Gauri Devidayal on This Round Is On Me. The two talk about the wine business and what's going on there. We had a number of conversations about the Farmers Bill and the surrounding agitation this week on the network as well. Maruk Inayat had a great episode on the note. Pulyabazi did a deep dive into the issues around this. And on Siders, we have our typical, fun conversation about this stuff with a little bit of a seriousness, a little bit of fun. Do check that out on Cock and Bull on Thursday last week. Akash Mehta joined us for that episode. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Hi, Mukta.
Hi, Aditi.
So nice to speak to you after some time now. I think we've just been chatting.
Absolutely. It's lovely seeing you and talking to you. Of course, not in person yet, but this is still good.
Soon. So
Yeah.
I just introduced you to our audience and I said you have been extremely passionate about your wellness explorations through multiple ways. So, what is your wellness philosophy?
Wellness now has become a buzzword lately.
Right.
It's everywhere from the children to adults to, elderly. Everyone is just talking wellness, wellness, wellness. I just think it's a very simple thing, honestly. It's looking after yourself first, and then you can look after everyone else, and how you can go about doing it. So there are various ways of that. And I think you just need to find what works for you.
Yeah, because it is confusing. Multiple people, and I think every year we have new wellness philosophies dropping in, and
Absolutely.
some people say this was good, and then suddenly that is bad. So it is confusing for someone who is new to this.
Yes. Yes.
So I have your handwriting sample in front of me, and let's
Mm-hmm.
dive in and let's talk about how you look at your work, your life, and any situation for that matter. Any
Okay.
specific question do you have for me before I start?
Two questions. I don't know if you can tell that from my handwriting or not. That is, but as far as I know, I internalize a lot. I
Mhm.
overthink,
Okay.
and sometimes that's becomes a challenge in a
Okay.
lot of situations. And I don't know if through my handwriting we can find some solution to that.
Okay. That's question number one. Is there any other
Yes.
question?
No, I think at the moment just that.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh,
as long we go along.
sure. So, most of the time, the way we are brought up in our society, we are always driven by group activities. We work in group, we play in groups. So, for somebody who is an introvert, our society is not very compatible in that sense. I wouldn't say that introverts are not compatible to the society. I would say other way around. And you know that you have always been a quieter child, no matter what was going on in your life, and you socialize and you make efforts to talk to people, but given a choice you would be in your smaller circle or by yourself, and you would spend time reading, doing things which are really calming. And now I also understand why wellness is so close to you, because it is about internal
Then,
journeys more than anything else. Now
yeah.
you have created products through them, but fundamentally it is for your personal journey within, and that's what matters to any introvert. So when your handwriting goes to the left,
Mm-hmm.
that talks about somebody who is an introvert. In your writing, if you look at it calmly, every single stroke goes to the left. Now, these are certain things. I had created an episode called Survival Guide for Introverts because I feel most of the time they cannot survive in the way the world is built.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you really have to pay attention to that. You have to be somebody who would take out time, spend time by yourself. If people really require you to be in 15 places, you have to have at least 10 breaks in between where you can reconnect with yourself. Days where you cannot do it are really, really exhausting days for you. The days where you can do it and you can have that little break in between where you can just breathe, or you can take that cup of tea with you, by yourself. Those days are great days for you. But when you don't get that recharge timing, that is like really horrible. So know that about you and accept that aspect and nurture it. Introverts get exhausted when they get highly stimulated. So what happens
Mm-hmm.
is social situations when many people want to come and talk to you, that is a lot of stimulation. When you have to deal with external scenarios which require show off, kind of sometimes you have to present yourself in a certain way. All these things are clear points of exhaustion. So I must
Absolutely.
say, in the lockdown, you must have enjoyed yourself as you.
Oh, thoroughly. Absolutely. It was bliss. I did not need to meet anybody that I did not need to meet, and I could just meet the people I really wanted to.
Sure.
And, so no parties and no office dinners, or there's none of that where. So it was great for me. And yet, we worked very hard. We did a lot of work during the lockdown.
And if the
And
work requires you to sit by yourself and think through the problem and come up with solutions, you love it. You thrive in such situations. So
absolutely,
happy
yeah.
lockdown to you.
Yes, it really was a happy lockdown, fortunately for us
So
and for me. Yeah.
so another aspect of this same trait, if I have to talk about, you are a very direct person. So
Hmm.
when we write the letter T,
Hmm.
some people at the end of the T, you have
Hmm.
umbrella kind of soft turn point.
Yeah.
Whereas in your case, it is like a cross. It is like this plus sign. The line
Hmm.
comes down and there is no softening there. It's a clear, pointed, to the point conversation. And you say things as they are. Now, because you're a quieter person, people believe that you're a softer person. Also, in
Hmm.
other aspects of your demeanor, you're a softer
Yeah.
person. But when
Yeah.
it comes to making a point and having clarity, you are to the T. And that is baffling for people. They cannot believe that, oh my God, what happened here? Was she not supposed to be like this calmer one? And for some reason, people understand the quieter one as less confident one, which is absolutely not true for anybody. In your
Hmm.
case, that is obviously not true. But I'm just saying, I'm just saying that that is a perception that people
Yeah.
generally have.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. I mean, I had an incident just last week, and everyone around me was a bit shocked that, and they'd never seen me make a point like that.
Okay.
And it was just honestly in a meeting last week that it happened, and I was like, yeah, but this is the point. And of course, sometimes gets me into trouble because not everybody's used to hearing things directly and just as is. I feel I need to work on that at some points
I do not
because,
know that. I'd
yeah, I
say
mean, I
that.
really need to learn to be a little bit more diplomatic about things
I would
and,
say tactical at times,
change.
tactical, not diplomatic, because I rarely meet women who have this clarity about what they want and what they do not want. And most of
Hmm.
the time, we are taught to not have that clarity, not walk with exact, I would say demands. We are told that we should be adjusting
Yeah,
and we should be like, lying low
yeah.
and all those philosophies. The fact that you don't carry that and the fact that you say things for what they are definitely people who are not used to it, they get uncomfortable with it. But those who understand you and those who understand the value that you bring to the table understand how
Mhm.
beautiful and how important that exact aspect is. One more thing I feel, as a leader or as a even as a friend, something that you thrive in is listening to people. And I'm saying that because when you write the letter E, the loop in your
Mhm.
E are very, very open. And that is a great listening skill trait. Anybody with loop in their T open, some people squeeze them, they become invisible or they become like a tight knot. Whereas in your case, they're open and they're very, very clear. That shows you're a great listener, which means you put your heart into ears while listening to people. And it rarely happens that your friends feel that you're not available. If you call somebody a
Mhm.
friend, you're always available to listen to what that person is going through. And I think it's an interesting thing to have. Though you don't speak, you're always available to listen to people. That's like a contradiction which you carry.
Right.
So most of your friends are friends who come to you and they believe you're their best friend, and you think they are like good friends. And for you, they're not best friends, but because they get to speak with you and you listen to them compassionately, they feel you are the friend to go to.
That's good to know, actually. But yeah,
So this
that's true. I definitely give if I'm talking or if I somebody is a friend, then they are a friend and I'm available to talk to them really any time. So yeah.
over to you, Mukta. Any question that you have?
Like I said earlier, so this direct speaking of mine
Hmm.
gets me into trouble many times, and it's not appreciated many a times, whether it's in personal life or professional life. Um, so, do you have any tips for me there? Like, is there?
Sure. I think you also have slight argumentativeness as your behavior. So it's not only
Mhm.
speaking direct that gets you in trouble. it's not leaving your perspective. It's not the other person feels that once you have made up your mind, you do not listen to what they have to say or what they have to present. That
Mm-hmm.
is a problem. So as long as you're clear and if you're willing to, so I'm just combining the traits that I spoke about, right? Like great listening skill with
Yeah.
somebody who has the willingness to who believes in herself and has clarity about where she wants to go. If I
Mm-hmm.
combine all of this, the challenge happens when you make the other person feel that they have no scope to present their point. If they
Right.
can present their point and if you're willing to listen to them and then you bring in your clarity, then it is okay. And think of any situations where you have done it.
Mm-hmm.
But the very moment they feel that, oh my God, she has made up her mind and now I cannot do anything, they become aggressive and they do
Mm-hmm.
not expect you to be this stubborn, if I may say, or this committed to your point of view in your argument. So
Yeah.
they start pushing you, and more they push you, more you retaliate. Now that is a
Mm-hmm.
sign for anybody. If we feel
Mm-hmm.
pushed, we retaliate. But the
Right.
point at which you get there is where you do not let the other person feel heard in an argument. You would do that when the person is in trouble, when they require help, when they require anything under the sun, you'll be there to listen to
Yeah.
them. The very moment the situation changes and you go get into argumentativeness,
Mm-hmm.
you back off and you say, okay, I don't want to listen to you,
Yeah.
which is startling for the other person.
Right.
So I wouldn't say changing your direct approach is a great idea because that's who you are. And I don't think that would make you feel very good about things.
Yeah.
But you must work on the moments where you get triggered and in the
Mm-hmm.
argument. So once you get triggered, there is no way to look at the other situation. I every episode I talk about a journaling question. I
Mm-hmm.
tell people that they can ask something that to themselves, and I feel no matter who we are and no matter which expert is working with you, you are the creator of how you feel within. You may receive tools from other people, but you have to always solve the puzzles for yourself. So in your
Right.
case, if you have to look at the one puzzle that is the biggest one, is what happens when you get triggered in the argumentative aspect. So let me give you a journaling question for that. Try it and
Mm-hmm.
tell me how you feel. Okay. So when you get down to the argument or when you feel triggered, there is one-sidedness which comes in. You start
Mm-hmm.
building your argument in your mind, and being an introvert that you are, you do not discuss it with other people. So you build
Mm-hmm.
your argument and it becomes stronger and stronger, and you have other ammunition that comes to you, and then you keep building it. And by the time it reaches a conclusion, it is a full blown, complete conclusion. There is
Yes.
no questioning then, because you speak after having thought through the incidents like 15 times. You wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
speak before that. But by then, you have also concluded, and there is no other way of figuring things out.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question here is, if you feel that you have to argue, you have to fight, sit down. And first question is, what exactly is bothering me here? Because it
Mm-hmm.
is not in the other person's behavior. You feel invalidated, you feel whatever is the emotion in that situation. And we feel that way, right, in an argument. So
Yeah.
write down, what exactly am I feeling? What exactly is bothering me here? And
Mm-hmm.
as you start writing those emotions and describing that feeling, it will give
Mm-hmm.
you an outlet which otherwise is not available.
Okay.
So because your emotions are so bottled up, when they open in front of the other person, you have this whole volcano bursting. And then the person
Yeah.
is like, what happened? The incident was so small. Why are you making a big deal? You might have heard this a lot.
Yes.
Why are you making a big deal? Now, for
Yeah.
you, because it has not happened once, but because you repeated it so many times in your mind without any outlet, it becomes that
Mm-hmm.
big burst out there. Now, after having written it, sometimes you might have to write it like 5 times to feel good about it or feel like
Mm-hmm.
you have conveyed the point on your journal. So, write it over and over again. And then ask yourself, what all choices do I have here?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at it, sometimes you pick up one or two choices and you keep
Yeah.
repeating it in a relationship. So you
Yes.
know that is not working, but you, in the moment when you get triggered, you have only two options available in that fight. So
Right.
before you walk into the fight, if you think about all the options available, you can literally think about, okay, I can do A, I can do B, but I also have these three options as I'm not in the fight.
Yeah.
Because you're not, you don't have to make a
Yeah.
decision now. So you have
Yes.
those options. And I
Right.
think, Mukta, that would really come handy.
Okay.
That, that deliberation to figure out what
Yeah.
you want to do and how you want to take it, what exactly is available on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we do not tend to understand what the other person can or cannot do.
Right.
We expect that, okay, this is what I want, but is
Yeah.
that really available with the other person? All
Correct.
of that can happen in the journaling thinking and not in the
Mhm.
fight or not in the argument. That would really
Okay.
come handy.
Right. Cool.
Okay.
Sounds good. I'll definitely give it a shot.
So give it 7 days before you conclude yes or no, okay?
I will.
So let's get to the next segment, which is called Autograph Please, where I
Mm-hmm.
talk about the kind of misunderstanding that you experience by people based on your signature. So your signature talks about your public image, and your
Mm-hmm.
handwriting talks about who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at your signature, we see how people see you, which
Okay.
most of the time is very different than who you are, all of us,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then the gap creates many interesting events and experiences. So I'm going to describe it in graphological terms, and I want you to give us an example of where exactly it happened and
Sure.
how you experienced it, okay?
Okay.
So when I look at your signature, it is larger than your handwriting, much larger than your writing. The way the
Mm-hmm.
encircling is and the way the first letter M is formed is bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you look at the public persona that you carry, people think that you're very sure of yourself. At times, they think you're arrogant. They think that when you walk into a meeting or when you walk into a situation, you are a tough person to get by, and
Mm-hmm.
that is slightly intimidating until they get to know you and they're like, oh my God, why did I think this person is intimidating? She's not intimidating. She's very friendly. She takes time to open up. But once that happens, she's like a fine person to hang with. But most people feel so intimidated by you in formal, like work settings for sure, but also in social settings.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, and so I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes yes, it's required. But yeah, it happens all the time to me.
Tell us something that happened
Um,
which was like bizarre or like really funny.
So, in fact, just yesterday, or was it day before, I was sitting with a group of these young architects and, 25-year-old like kids. And so I was giving them a project to do. And they had sent a proposal. I had kind of gone through it, done my detailing on it, and sent it back to them. So just the document itself became intimidating. So when they came to meet me, they were already like, "Okay, what is this? We sent a one pager. She sent 3 pages back. What happened here?" And because obviously I'd studied the whole thing, and then I said, "Okay, I wanted this," and there was absolute clarity on what I wanted to say, and um, yeah, so they were shocked, right? And um, also because I conducted the meeting at home. So, it's a homely environment. They didn't know, about me much or whatever. It's not work related or some other project. So they're like, okay, really? And they went back feeling, or at least the look on their face was like, I hope it's a small thing, but we can handle it. So, yeah, that was the thing. So I was like, hey, listen, the next time they come back, I need to kind of tone it down and make it more cheerful for them rather than being
Scaring them.
scared of the whole thing and not performing. So, that's not serving the purpose.
Sure, I
Yeah.
remember you visited my office many years ago,
Yeah.
and my assistant that time was so scared, and I'm like, "What happened?" Like, it's Mukta, and she had heard of you, and we were working
Right.
on your project for a long
Yeah.
time before that, so she had heard of you many times, and I'm like, "Why are you scared?" She's like, "I don't know, madam is here. I think, ma'am, can you please handle?" And I'm like, "What's happening?" And she's generally very comfortable like that. She
Yeah.
was, and with you, I remember this, yeah.
So means I don't know. So honestly, maybe sometimes, like you're saying, even socially, I'm like, why are people not talking to me? Like, am I like what's happening? And then I'm like, it's okay. Maybe I don't approach people to talk to, or it's maybe just I'm the introvert, so let's keep it that way.
So it's
But
not introvert and anything like that. It is literally that intimidating vibe that you have that like, okay, if you're clear, then only come and talk to me, which is not true, but that's the vibe you'll end up giving.
yeah, so
Good. So next
yeah.
time, like whenever you get to party in this lockdown after that, you know what's going to happen.
No, I've experienced that many times, Aditi. I think it's time that changes now.
The last thing before I go, I want to talk about the way you clearly create your end results. Anything that you do, you have to have your final result in mind. Now, that is very, very important. So, when you speak with people, the example that you just gave is so applicable even when I look at your writing. The end result orientedness is the way you define your life, your projects, everything. So it's okay for you to fail. It's okay for you to not achieve the target that you have in mind. But beginning of the project, you have to have your clarity. And that's so beautiful. You actually, every time I see the handwriting strokes, having that blueprint, and when I hear a story, when it matches perfectly, you just feel thrilled to see how interesting it is to see a personal experience coming alive with these pointers that you see just scribbled on the paper. It's just
Yeah.
fascinating.
No,
I can fall in love with it every time I look at it.
that we can see, and it's so obvious. You're so passionate about it that it's always a joy to talk to you about these things.
Yeah, I only get so excited. Yeah, I'm so happy that other people want to listen to it. Otherwise, I would have done it alone anyways.
Yeah, I'm sure you would have.
Lovely talking to you, Mukta. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
So nice. It was great, the insights that you've given me, the journaling tips, and even, the personality from my signature. I'll definitely try to work on it. And
And now you have.
thanks a lot for having me over on the show. It's
Thank you.
really been a pleasure.
Thank you. Now you have lesser excuses to give to others and yourself. Now you caught up in your own head already.
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
What are some of the radical changes that are now shaping our workspace? With physical distancing and heightened safety protocols being the norm, will technology finally make its large-scale entry to the workspace? Will design as we know it change for the long term? Is it possible for the Indian commercial real estate space to adopt a 360-degree approach to sustainability? Join our hosts at the Future of Space podcast by RMZ as we deliberate with industry leaders, analysts, and bright young minds on the way forward for the workspace given the new COVID normal. Tune in to the IVM Podcasts app or wherever you stream your favorite podcasts.
Introverts are mostly misunderstood by people around them, as communicating and expressing their emotions is not their strength. If you're an introvert or you find left slanted handwriting in someone you care for, then learn more about this superpower and hack the system. Hack how you think. If you are an introvert or if you find left slanted handwriting of someone you care for, then learn more about hacking the superpower. Do listen to our episode number 8, The Survival Guide for Introverts. Let's take this self-discovery even deeper by talking about Graphology Tool of the Week. If you haven't grabbed a pen and paper yet, this is the time to do that. If you want the specific instructions I used while creating a handwriting sample and the images of the stroke I'm about to describe, then visit aditisurana.com/podcast and look for episode number 81. Do you know people who simply cannot say no to others? You already have this pile of work to finish. Why couldn't you say no to your boss? Are you kidding me? You're going to finish her assignment. She would never do that for anyone. Anyone who cannot say no to others hear these remarks from their best friends and family members all the time. Their inability to say no actually stems from a deep-rooted fear of being rejected. They fear that by saying no, they will reject others, and then in turn, people will reject them. They feel that by being this agreeable person, they will be loved, accepted, and validated. This is a deep rooted feeling that starts at childhood and engulfs your personal, professional, sexual, social, emotional, and even financial decisions. Graphologically speaking, the letter M has the key to identify fear of rejection. Take any M, capital, lowercase, angular, soft, rounded, it doesn't matter. Each M has two humps. If the second hump is taller than the first one, then the writer has fear of being rejected. Let me repeat. If the second hump in the letter M is taller than the first hump, then the writer fears rejection. This writer cannot say no. He or she seeks validation from others and avoids risks at any cost. The other day, I found this stroke in the writing of my really strong, dynamic, and otherwise vivacious high-performance coaching client. He said, other things I have learned, but relationship is my biggest area of concern. And I agreed. Fear of rejection does not allow you to be intimate or vulnerable in your relationship. In the next episode on Friday, I will be talking about how the same stroke is found when people are in difficult codependent relationships. As I mentioned earlier, you are the sculptor of your life. If you find the stroke in your writing, then don't freak out. It is better to look at the problem at this point in time and deal with it instead of pushing it under the carpet, isn't it? We already have many episodes created on the Absolutely Right podcast dedicated to this episode. I find even while working with my coaching clients, this one particular area can be completely paralyzing. So make sure that you look at it for what it is and work on it. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this episode has impacted you in any way, then be the first one to create the same impact on others. Look at someone's handwriting and see if you can help them in any way. And if this has piqued your curiosity, then you can learn this subject even further. Every month I teach one Graphology masterclass. It is designed for every participant to know themselves at a deeper level. As you can already tell, it helps you detect your anxiety patterns. You can actually understand your kids better, even hire better. Our next batch begins on 9th of Jan on Saturday. All the details are mentioned on my website, aditisurana.com. If you like this podcast, then don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on IVM Network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Let's connect on Friday. Till then, happy writing!
Have you ever wondered how successful people do their thing? How do they navigate the challenges they often face? Are you wondering about the future of restaurants, film, education, technology, and everything else in between? Hi, I'm Gauri Devidayal, best known for being one of the brains behind The Table, an award-winning restaurant in Bombay. One thing my life as a restaurateur has given me is the opportunity to meet with some truly inspiring people, most often just by chatting with strangers at the community table. And that's what this podcast is about. It's about learning the new dimensions of business and understanding how different people swim this sea. It's an opportunity for me to pick their brains and ask them all the questions on my mind, whether it's about learning from their past experiences or talking about future trends. Through their journeys, stories, and insights, I hope you too, like me, will come away inspired and energized. So come, join me every Wednesday with your favorite drink because this round is on me.
जिंदगी डायरीज के पन्नों में कुछ पुरानी यादें, समुंदर किनारे झूमते दरख्त, जवान दिल की धड़कनें और अनजान मुलाकातें हैं। तो आइए खोलिए मेरे साथ जिंदगी डायरी के पन्ने और साथ ही खुलकर जीते हैं जिंदगी। आप सुन सकते हैं जिंदगी डायरीज IVM पॉडकास्ट ऐप या वेबसाइट पर या जहां कहीं से भी आप अपने पॉडकास्ट सुनते हो।